The dream of a stable, middle-class life seems to be slipping away for millions. It's a quiet crisis, a silent collapse happening not in the headlines, but in the homes and bank accounts of ordinary people. For generations, the formula was simple: work hard, get a good education, and you could secure a comfortable life. But today, that promise feels broken. This isn't about one single event or a sudden crash. It's a slow-motion erosion that has been reshaping our society for half a century. We're going to pull back the curtain on the economic forces that are methodically dismantling the middle class. This is a story told not just in numbers and charts, but in the lived experiences of families who are playing by the rules but still finding themselves falling behind. It's a deep dive into the tangible pressures of wage stagnation, relentless inflation, and the soaring cost of essentials. To understand where we are, we have to look back at where we've been. Let's travel back to the post-war era, from the 1950s to the early 1970s. This period is often remembered as a golden age for the American middle class. A single income, often from a job that didn't require a college degree, was frequently enough to support a family, buy a home, own a car, and save for the future. The economy was booming, and productivity gains were shared more equitably with workers in the form of higher wages. There was an implicit social contract. As companies became more profitable, their employees would see a direct benefit in their paychecks. This created a virtuous cycle. Workers had more money to spend, which fueled demand for goods and services, which in turn created more jobs and profits. This widespread prosperity was the bedrock of a stable and growing middle class. It wasn't a perfect time, but the path to economic security was clearer and more accessible than it is today. But then, something started to change. Around the early 1970s, a great decoupling began. The tight link between productivity, the value of goods and services produced per hour of work, and worker compensation started to fray. For decades, as American workers became more efficient and produced more, their wages rose in lockstep. But after this point, productivity continued its upward climb, while the median workers' pay began to flatten out. This divergence is one of the most critical factors in the story of the disappearing middle class. Imagine two lines on a graph that moved together for 30 years, suddenly splitting apart. One line, representing the wealth being created, shoots upward, while the other, representing the share going to the average worker, barely budges. This created a massive gap, with the economic gains flowing disproportionately to the top earners and corporate profits, rather than being reinvested in the workforce that generated them. This phenomenon is known as wage stagnation. It doesn't mean that wages haven't gone up at all in the last 50 years. They have, but they haven't come close to keeping pace with the cost of living or the growth of the overall economy. In real, inflation-adjusted terms, the purchasing power of the median wage has been remarkably flat for decades. People are working harder and are more productive than ever, but their paychecks don't reflect that reality. This stagnation hit particularly hard for those without a college degree, who once formed the backbone of the middle class. The decline of manufacturing jobs and the weakening of collective bargaining power further suppressed wage growth for a huge segment of the population. The result is a workforce that feels like it's running on a treadmill, putting in more effort just to stay in the same place. While wages were stagnating, the cost of the fundamental pillars of a middle-class life began to skyrocket. This isn't about the price of a cup of coffee or a new smartphone. This is about the big-ticket items, the non-negotiables that define economic security: housing, education, and healthcare. The relentless rise in these costs has acted like a vice, squeezing family budgets from all sides. Let's start with housing. For previous generations, owning a home was the cornerstone of middle-class wealth building. It was an attainable goal. Today, home prices in many areas have become completely detached from local incomes. The ratio of median home price to median household income has ballooned, pushing home ownership out of reach for a growing number of people, especially younger generations. Even the cost of renting has surged, consuming a larger and larger share of monthly income and making it incredibly difficult to save for a down payment. Then there's education. A college degree is now considered more essential than ever to access middle-class jobs. Yet, the cost of that degree is inflated at a staggering rate, far outpacing general inflation and wage growth. Over the past few decades, tuition and fees at both public and private universities have exploded. This has forced millions to take on crippling amounts of student loan debt, which now totals over $1 trillion in the United States. Graduates are starting their careers already deep in the red, with monthly loan payments that can rival a mortgage. This debt delays major life milestones, like buying a home, starting a family, or saving for retirement. It's a massive financial anchor that can hold people back for decades, turning an investment in their future into a lifelong burden. And finally, we have healthcare. The cost of medical care and health insurance has become a source of profound financial anxiety for countless families. The United States spends far more per capita on healthcare than any other developed nation, yet health outcomes are often no better. For families, this translates into sky-high insurance premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs that can wipe out savings in an instant. Even with employer-sponsored insurance, the employee's share of the cost has steadily risen. A single unexpected medical issue can be financially devastating, pushing a family from stability into crisis. This constant threat of financial ruin due to health problems adds an immense layer of stress and insecurity, fundamentally undermining the stability that the middle class once took for granted. So, you have flat wages on one side and the exploding costs of housing, education, and healthcare on the other. This is the core of the squeeze. But there's another, more insidious factor at play: inflation. Not just the headline inflation number you see on the news, but the way it disproportionately affects the essentials. Over time, the steady increase in the price of groceries, utilities, and transportation eats away at the purchasing power of a stagnant paycheck. When your income isn't growing but the cost of filling up your car or your grocery cart is, your real-world standard of living declines. Families are forced to make difficult choices, cutting back on savings, delaying important purchases, or taking on more debt just to cover basic monthly expenses. This isn't a matter of poor financial management, it's a mathematical certainty when costs consistently outpace income. The result of these converging pressures is a hollowing out of the middle. The very definition of middle class is changing. It's no longer defined by a certain lifestyle but by a state of perpetual economic anxiety. The buffer that once existed to absorb financial shocks, a job loss, a medical emergency, an unexpected repair, has vanished for many. This has profound consequences for our society. A strong and stable middle class is the engine of a healthy economy and a functioning democracy. It drives consumer spending, fosters entrepreneurship, and promotes social stability. As that foundation erodes, we see rising inequality, increased social and political polarization, and a growing sense of hopelessness and frustration. People feel like the system is rigged against them, that no matter how hard they work, the goalposts keep moving further away. This isn't a partisan issue, it's an economic reality that has been building for decades under administrations of all stripes. The silent collapse of the middle class is the defining economic story of our time. It's the story of a promise unfulfilled and a dream deferred for an entire generation. Understanding these forces is the first step. It's not about nostalgia for a bygone era, but about clearly identifying the structural problems that have led us here. Only by facing the hard truths about wage stagnation, the rising cost of living, and the systemic shifts in our economy can we begin to have a real conversation about how to rebuild a future where a secure, middle-class life is once again within reach for all who are willing to work for it. The story doesn't have to end here. But reversing these trends will require more than just individual effort. It will require a collective recognition of the problem and a shared commitment to finding solutions. If you want to continue exploring the economic forces that shape our world, make sure to subscribe to my channel